Hey guys, today we have the all-new 2026 Nissan Sentra in a top SL trim. So for 2026, Nissan gave us the new Sentra, and it's a ninth generation of this compact sedan. This car still makes sense for a lot of people, whether we're talking about high school students, college students, or individuals who just need a simple method of transportation. It starts at around $24,000, which makes it one of the most affordable compact sedans, and goes up to $30K for our tested SL trim. Nissan completely redesigned the car, but the dimensions are very similar. The car is a little bit longer. The underpinnings remain the same. This thing still sits on the platform that was co-developed with Renault, so it underpins a lot of other Nissan products and Renault in Europe. And believe it or not, Mitsubishi Outlander, which we'll have in a few weeks, also uses the same architecture. So we have a strut front suspension and a multilink setup in the back, which is nice to see. Some rivals offer torsion beam, which is less comfortable, less refined, and doesn't have as good driving dynamics as a multilink setup. Tell me what you guys think about the design. I think Nissan did a decent job. You're not gonna fall in love with this car, but it looks pretty attractive, and I want to risk a statement, a little bit upscale. We have projector LED headlights, which provide a good output at night, and a 360-degree camera, which is also nice to see. As of engine, we only have one option at the moment. It's a 2-liter naturally aspirated 4-cylinder, which makes 149 horsepower, 146 pound-feet of torque, so nothing crazy. That means the car will do 0 to 60 in about 8.5 seconds. The power obviously goes down to front wheels via a CVT, which it is what it is. We're gonna get into driving impressions in a second and see how it performs. Looks like lots of space here in the engine bay, easy access to our battery and some other things. Pretty heavy hood. They definitely didn't use aluminum there. The interior is super nice. Let's start with the seats. They're wrapped in synthetic leather, but offer really good comfort, and I'm ready to risk a statement that these are the most comfortable seats that you can get in any compact sedan. They are power operated, up and down. Unfortunately, this portion doesn't tilt, but it really doesn't bother me much because I was able to find a good sitting position. We have a Bose sound system, which typically for Bose units is a little bit bass heavy. You gotta mess with an equalizer to get a little bit better sound. Obviously, all windows are automatic with the driver's automatic up and down function. Alrighty, let's jump inside. Pretty easy to get in and out. Good driving position. I'm 6'1", I have plenty of space for my legs. Start staying up. And talk about the cabin space, which is shockingly nice for a Nissan. We have a variety of different colors, textures, and materials. For the most part, they are hard touch plastics, but everything that you touch or you interact with is nice. That also includes buttons. They have nice tactility to them. We have an average amount of physical controls. This third vent works as a shortcut buttons for our volume, next track, and the camera system. We have a touch capacitive control panel for HVAC system. Not the biggest fan of that solution. I wish it provided some feedback. It doesn't, but hey, that's better than trying to get your eyes off the road and try to figure out where is that infotainment system. We have a heated steering wheel in the top SL trim, which is nice to see. You can either turn it on here or here. And we have a good amount of storage, which is also kind of surprising for a compact vehicle. 2 USB Type-C ports, our 12-volt outlet, wireless charger, cup holders, very deep under the armrest area, and a glove box, which looks okay. Nice ambient lighting. You can obviously customize it, change colors and brightness of it. Right in front of us, we have a customizable gauge cluster. Nothing crazy. You can see your trip computer, your tire pressures, what you're playing, driver assistance information, and you can also change the meter view to those horizontal bars if you like a little bit cleaner, more modern look. The infotainment system itself is All right, not a huge fan of the graphical interface. It's been out for a few years, so I think it's about time for Nissan to update it. But It's super easy to use, logically structured, no issues with it whatsoever. Apple CarPlay very quickly and seamlessly connects. That's also a plus. And let's take a look at our camera system. Not a crazy high resolution, but better than in an Infiniti QX50. Auto dimming rear view mirror. We put our sunglasses here. So yeah, from a general usability perspective in ergonomics, it's really nice. I do like the fact that we have physical controls on the steering wheel, unlike in the Murano or the Leaf, where they're capacitives. All right, let's take a look at the back seat. See how I'm gonna fit back there. I'm 6'1" and I don't have any complaints. Enough leg room, my feet under the seat. We have an armrest. The headroom is also okay for me. The materials are a little bit worse here on door panels, but everything's pretty well put together. Nothing squeaks, nothing rattles. So really nice job. And I do like this color combination. I've always liked bright interiors because they make the car feel a little bit more nicer, a little bit brighter. You just feel better inside, unlike in some dark cabins. And also a very nice, not overwhelming design. Let's take a look at the cargo area. Pretty decent. You can drop the seats if you want, and we have some storage under the floor. Sadly, no spare tire, and I don't even know if you can fit one. Technically, you could. You would probably have to raise the floor a little bit. We'd have a fix kit, which I'm not a big fan of. No handle to grab the trunk, so we just have to touch the body of the car. Alrighty. Let's see how this thing does on our favorite back road. Again, pretty good resolution camera. Put it into drive. And let's start with the powertrain. So again, we have a 2-liter 4-cylinder that's naturally aspirated, makes 149 horsepower, 146 pound-feet of torque, and it's an okay unit. You know, it's not gonna make you fall in love with this thing. It's gonna do its job. It's gonna deliver power pretty smoothly. It doesn't feel as unrefined as it does in a Kicks. It's also a little bit more refined and less drony than what Toyota offers in the Corolla. So the engine bay is pretty well isolated. There isn't much NVH coming from the engine, not unwanted vibration. So, all right, passes the test. The CVT is all right. They fixed the software compared to older generation of Nissan CVTs. We still don't know what the reliability is going to be. I mean, obviously the predicted reliability is low, but it's one of those cases when time simply will tell. It does a good job simulating gears, no matter if you're accelerating hard or softly. It's not super whiny. At the end of the day, you're gonna get that rubber bandy effect from a CVT. You cannot escape that, but it's not the worst, and you don't feel penalized by the CVT when you drive this thing on a daily basis. The fuel economy is pretty average, not a groundbreaking like in a Honda Civic or a Volkswagen Jetta that has a turbo engine. In the city, I was able to get high 20s, mid 30s on a highway, so combined we're looking at around 33, 34. Granted, I live in a highly densely populated area in New Jersey where there's traffic everywhere, where driving 20 miles takes you an hour, so you have to take that under consideration. If the traffic flow is much smoother, the car will be consuming less gas, which nowadays is pretty expensive. Alrighty, let's stop here and do a quick 0 to 60, see how this thing accelerates. Gonna disable auto hold and auto start stop. You can put it into sport mode as well, brake torque it. Alright, I was talking about CVT simulating gears, so decided not to do this. Now it did after pressing a brake, so I guess it's looking at the positioning of the brake pedal and some other elements to simulate gears. Works much better in the past, but you still have a sensation of driving something that's simply not real. Nissan doesn't even give us a manual mode. We can use engine braking if we pop it into B. So if you're driving downhill or in a mountain area and don't want to overheat your brakes, you can use that. I'm just gonna put it back in drive. Let's talk about driving dynamics. Not super inspiring vehicle to drive. It is a base compact sedan, but the inputs feel somewhat natural. I have no complaints. There's one thing I would change though, is a throttle calibration. It's pretty touchy and sensitive. It feels like you slightly press the gas pedal and the car is opening the throttle at 20%. That doesn't matter what drive mode you're in. They did that to give you a sensation of driving a car that has a little bit more power and torque, but you can see on your tachometer that revs are going up. We have some safe understeer. Granted, it is a little wet on our favorite back road, but I don't hate it. It's not something I want to toss in corners and have fun in, but it does a pretty decent job. What you're gonna be doing most of the time in the Sentra is daily commutes, and it's shockingly comfortable. It offers levels of comfort comparable to some mid-sized sedans from 10, 15 years ago. Really good impact management, no matter what road surface you're traveling on. The suspension does a very good job with filtering out all bumps, and the cabin is pretty well isolated. There is noticeable road noise above 70, 75 miles an hour. It's not as quiet as a Kia K4 that we tested last week, but I can't complain much, considering the fact that this is one of the most affordable compact sedans you can buy, and I can guarantee you're not even gonna pay MSRP for it. You're gonna be able to knock some numbers down. Really, really decent vehicle for someone who needs a simple method of transportation. Now, the residual values and projected reliability are still questionable. I don't think it's gonna hold value as well as a Toyota Corolla or a Honda Civic. Sentras have a tendency to depreciate more, and that's mainly because of the reliability of older vehicles, especially the CVTs. We'll see what the future brings. It's hard to tell right now. The car just entered the market, so we have to wait a couple of more years to see how this thing does, what the customers say, but my first impression after spending a few days with this are pretty positive. I'm gonna have some fun on my favorite back road, so if you guys wanna stick for a little bit longer, see how this thing handles, feel free. Otherwise, thanks so much for watching. Take care. Pretty good responsiveness of the engine, so not too shabby.